Welcome to episode 83 of the Coast to Coast AFL podcast from Nick and Blaze. I am Blaze, your host, and this week we got a couple of things to cover, like the retirement of a ruck legend. The beginnings of the SSP have started this week with two players already being signed on, and a bunch of younger players that were not selected in the draft going to clubs to train on. We may talk about some of those players. We'll also talk about the draft itself. We'll go through like the top 25, give or take, and just see the types of players that teams have picked up. The AFLW All Australian Awards were tonight as we're recording this, so we've got the All Australian squad. We've also got who won the MVP and who won the Rising Star, and then we'll also briefly review the preliminary finals and preview the AFLW Grand Final. So without further ado, how are you doing, Mr. Sarek?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, as I said, what a weekend, especially if you love your sports. But yeah, as I said, there were a few demolitions. I guess obviously being in Perth, it was all the excitement for the Ashes, and then it's all over in 2 days in absolute amazing scenes. Yeah, so I mean, we'll maybe do a cricket episode or like cover a few summer sports a bit later. But man, that was crazy. I went to Royal Perth, Crown Perth, to see Cats on that day, and beforehand I was watching a bit of the cricket, bit of the AFLW, watching the North Melbourne and Melbourne game, which was surprisingly very, very close and pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards I saw Cats. Which I loved because it's about cats. It's a musical, but it's like dancing, and you know, I don't know. I'm just down for that sort of thing. I'm not heavily into like musicals if they have romantic plots, but you make it all about cats, so I'm in.
Yeah, that's very fair. We do love a good feline. I haven't done much. As I said in last week's episode, I've just flat out working. Not getting much sleep, if you can tell by the look on my eyes right now. But you know, we do the best that we can. I've got over just a week and a half to go until it's all over. So I'm looking forward to that. That's what I'm hanging out for. Yeah, I don't have much else to really update you all on. So let's just jump into all of our news.
Yeah.
Starting with
This done so Blazy can go to bed.
Yes.
And talking about going to bed,
one
of the workhorsiest.
Yes,
ruckmen.
That is very true.
Sorry, I was going to segue. I've stolen this from you.
You have stolen the segue.
One of the workhorsiest ruckmen in the league retires at the age of, 37 years old. He was wanting to play on, but he couldn't actually find a club. He wanted to use him as a backup. This is, in fact, Todd Goldstein, because I've realised I just haven't said his name. And, yeah, do you want to do the general overview?
Yeah. I
played 345 games.
345 games, 20 seasons, or just almost, I think. I think he started playing when he was
2008 to 2025.
Okay, so 17 years? Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he was one of the hearts of North Melbourne in his first decade in football. Became one of the premier ruckmen during the 2010s, and especially in the brief finals campaigns that North Melbourne had over those eras. He obviously has the most hitouts in VFL AFL history, and he places him 29th on the all-time list if we date back further. He's also the player with the third most games for North Melbourne as well, being 315 games, specifically only behind Boomer Harvey and Drew Petrie. And obviously when he went over to the Bombers, he wasn't originally meant to be playing as much as he did in 2025 due to their injury concerns. He was obviously had to come in because all of their ruckmen were out with injury. And so he played 30 games across 2 seasons pretty much to cover their issues, because he was mostly just meant to be like a ruck coach, or like a ruck player coach, I should say. But he's done a fantastic job otherwise across his entire career. Always been probably one of the best players to like have your eyes on and to look up to as a younger ruck. And it looks like he's still keeping his ruck coaching role at the Bombers, so he's definitely not leaving the AFL system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things about Todd Goldstein is just how durable he was, especially when it came to some of his peak years. First of all, it was pretty amazing. It took him only 3 years. Oh, sorry, on his fourth year, I should say, led the hit out. So that was when he was 24 years old, if I can do my math correctly, which is a pretty young age to lead the lead in total hit outs. As well, normally averaged about, at his peak around high 90% time on ground.
Mm-hmm.
Was until his older age, especially Essendon, where he was averaging around mid 70s, which honestly, considering it was ancient, is still pretty impressive. Never really known for his disposal, but he wasn't terrible. I think most people knew him just because he got enough disposals and he was excellent at hitouts. He absolutely dominated AFL fantasy. Like, there was a time where if you weren't picking Todd Goldstein and Max Gawn, you were basically putting yourself at a disadvantage. And yeah, he took 3 bounces in his career, it looks like. Four bounces in his career,
Ooh,
which is more than Max Gawn ever did. So,
this is true.
well, unless he takes 4 in his final things. But yeah, so as I said, really, really great ruckman. More so for durability. And as I said, he never really had that many pure second rucks options. Like a lot of the time, they were playing players like Drew Petrie, obviously, for a chunk of his career. Majak Dor was for a little while, and then maybe, I don't know. Is there anyone else you can really think of that was a second ruck? Not really.
In that era,
Braden Proust, I
not
guess.
really. I think Proust definitely stepped into the role a couple of times, but he definitely wasn't like their confirmed backup
Yeah,
ruckman at the time.
they really preferred playing a pure forward that could hit a bit when they had Todd Goldstein on the park, just because he was that useful and that durable. So, yeah, and as I said, obviously 2025, it will go down as like not the most statistically garnered years, but one adding to his legend, I would say, like the fact that he just pulls out 16 games to try and drag a limp Essendon to, well, I mean, not do anything because they didn't do anything, but it was better than playing no one. It was better than just shoving out Vigo Vicentini,
Mm-hmm.
being way too young. So, well, he got injured, didn't he? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he
They
also
all
had a
got
minor
injured
injury as
except
well.
for Toddy. Yeah. So yeah. Is that? Oh yeah. Any accolades you want to rack off? If there's a better
That
list than what I have.
probably is, but I do not actually have a list on me. Let me find out really quick.
Well, he's won the Best and Fairest in 2015. He also won a All Australian Blazer in that era, but honestly, he was a bit of a probably you would argue like his protege is a bit of a bridesmaid. Always a bit overshadowed by Max Gawn absolutely dominating that, and probably
Mm-hmm.
before that, the tail end of Dean Cox and Dean Sanderlands. So Dean Sanderlands? Aaron
Aaron
Sanderlands.
Sanders.
So yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was
so
only kind of really recognized for his ruck work in 2015, but has always been like one of the top tier Premier ruckman, finishing with career hit out of 9,837.
yeah. So yeah, I think that rounds out. So Todd Goldstein, may you ride your, I mean, I guess if you're a workhorse, you don't really ride yourself. But yeah, anyway, gallop off into the sunset. You deserve it. Keep on coaching the way, because if you can coach a player to half the durability and half the skill you do, you're doing a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, next on our list. Speaking of ruckman, actually, big Mason Cox, the big American, with the opening of the SSP, the Supplementary Selection Period, which the AFL does all the way until the start of the season, pretty much. He's the big first signing, and he's going over to Fremantle.
Yeah, so again, not that surprising if you've been lightly following. Fremantle showed another interest, and it was very heavily rumoured he was getting a 2-year deal. Obviously, the fact that they confirmed that this early means that they've probably got enough interest to where you might expect him to be playing, at least in 2026. But, as I said, with the new rules with the bench, obviously the bench is increasing by 1 and they're getting rid of the sub. Teams have a bit more flexibility playing tall.
Mm-hmm.
And what we saw from Fremantle last year was the fact that Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy, more so Luke Jackson in attack, Mason Cox and Josh Tracy should be like a central spearhead in terms of like big mobile tolls. Obviously keeping the linchpin, even though he's been struggling. Jaya Miss down deep. So teams are going to struggle. The really big question is toll bowl going to work for Fremantle? Like it did last year, they weren't exactly setting offensive metrics alight. They were winning games. They were quite clutch. Defense was solid, but yeah, I guess the question is this a move that's, kind of showing their hand in where they're going to play in 2026? Or is Mason Cox just going to be a bit more of more coverage than we think?
I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think it does kind of lean towards the fact that they want to keep their 3-prong tall forward line. But it also leads into the fact that they will likely use him also as a solid backup ruck, freeing up their 2 big fellas at the moment, and that way they're able to just kind of have a little bit more flexibility on field. Like they don't have to drag either of them up forward to ruck, because they could just get Mason Cox to ruck in the forward line and kind of keep Darcy and I'm blanking right now. Jackson.
Darcy, Voss, Tracy, Jackson.
I was mostly thinking Jackson. Allow them to kind of just split their time mostly in the midfield and defense when it comes to their split ruck work. That's it. That is, of course, if Mason Cox, is in the team. There is no guarantee he will be permanently in the team. Again, I assume that he will just mostly be rotating, especially as you probably want to give, players like you said the name just before, and I'm already
Voss, Tracy,
Amos. There we go. Especially if you want to give Amos some more time in the twos, especially after some of the performances he's had this season where he's been extremely quiet and very, very much in the case of underperforming. So that gives them a little bit more coverage in that position as well.
Yeah, and I will say the one advantage at his prime, I think maybe, I don't know where it's gone down. Obviously, he hasn't been targeted as much. I think Mason Cox's marking ability. I know it's not the best set shot for goal. That's always sort of been one of the problems. Is pretty good at marking, pretty bad at finishing. But at least, as I said, I think it just allows flexibility. Again, in situations where you probably one tall down, because I can't imagine them playing 5 or 6 or whatever it is. But as I said, it gives them a bit of versatility. So Voss, as I said, if Darcy goes down, it means that Voss can stay forward. They could just play someone like a Mason Cox in and rotate his minutes to be a bit less. And as I said, I think Mason Cox goes in because he'll probably know that, he's there just to extend his career a bit, show he can play. But I don't think he would have signed that contract knowing, as I said, I don't think he's first 22. But I think he'll sign it knowing that he's next back on the rank and he will get played in that situation.
Yeah, I completely agree. Plus his experience now being a premiership player and having having been in the league for over 10 years now, gives him a lot of that veteran leadership that some of the younger players at Fremantle, especially the ruck that they drafted either this year or last year, I think it was last year in the draft, will come in handy in terms of leadership skills and development process in that regard.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name? I can't remember. Riddle. That's it. Says in the article.
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously Liam Reedy also left as well. I forgot to mention that, but I don't think anyone's really had Liam Reedy on their radar. So, yeah. I mean, obviously Carlton did. They took him, but I don't think that was a big factor to this decision. I think it's just, I think it just confirms that Freo are going all in tall. So even if they lose a tall player, they're never going to play small ball next year, really, unless they're absolutely cruel, which we, fingers crossed, doesn't happen for Freo fans out there.
Agreed.
Right.
All right. Next on the agenda is another SSP signing by the Giants. Jayden Laverde, having been delisted from the Bombers, has signed with the Giants and is pictured right here at the top of the article alongside their new star recruit, Clayton Oliver.
Yeah, honestly, he looks pretty jacked.
Yeah, look at those shoulders.
He looks stoned. I know. So Laverde, obviously, if you've been following Essendon, you're probably one of the reasons why he's got such a solid back is because he's been whipped so much down there by both fans and his opponents. And you're wondering, why would GWS, a good defensive team, pick up someone like Jason Laverde and Jayden Laverde, sorry. But I do think this is a good move because, one, if you actually look at their list, they've got massively good best 22 players, but they're starting to thin out on depth back there. A lot of players have either gone or they've let go, salary caps, we know where their money's going in that team. A player like Jayden Laverde, obviously in Essendon, he had so many times where he's exposed one-on-ones. He had to, do that sort of defending, which wasn't his strength. We're going to a team like the Giants. You might actually be able to have a bit less pressure on. Again, I don't think he'll be best 22. But if a player goes down, it's not the worst player to come in because, as I said, I don't think he'll be as exposed in many one-on-ones. Giants play a lot more controlling off their back half. So if Laverde can just be like a link up that can provide some small defender, sort of a mid-sized defender sort of role. As I said, he'll probably be doing his role, and they'll be really solid there. And of course, as I said, if Lekalia's performance goes down after, the whatever happened last year, or this year, I should say.
Yeah.
Not saying it will, but, sometimes weird things happen when a trade doesn't go through, and sometimes players get a bit antsy or think a bit too hard. So, if Lekalia doesn't track up, they've got a replacement. Otherwise, as I said, I can't imagine him being in the best 22 either, but probably near first rank down.
I think he'll
haven't
be.
Looked at Giants' list in a while, but I can't imagine any other players overtaking him.
I think he'll be like kind of the perfect depth player to kind of fill in on their really tough backline to break into. You've got Iden, Aaliyah, Buckley, Taylor to try and kind of take out of that backline, which is really hard to do. So if any of those players goes out, he'll likely be the one to come in and slot in fairly well, I would assume.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of evening out because the other players are the next experience is actually Lekalia, who's only played 25 games, mind you. And then you've got Joe Fonte and James Leake, who are on 22 and 3 games in their career.
That's right.
So that might be a bit of insight why they make that move.
Yeah, they're depth down in the back line is a little bit thinner compared to their depth in the midfield and in the forward line. So that'll be it's definitely a good pickup to kind of
Promising
fill that hole.
youngsters. It's just not many games played after you knock down the first one. So Laverde, good depth, good move. But obviously, I don't think, in all honesty, many Giants players want to see him play. But he gets another chance. Who knows, some good things may come of it.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, jumping over now to the draft itself. The draft happened obviously last week, with a bunch of very, very skilled, very, very young, talented players getting signed. With the West Coast Eagles having the number one draft pick, they signed the number one Dersma, according to the family, being Willem, a strong midfielder from Victoria, who is leaving the rest of his siblings behind because they all play for Victorian clubs, to go over out west.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think he was only ever confirmed to be the best brother at the very least.
True.
I'm not sure how much Yasmin gets compared in there, but yeah, as I said, one of the more obvious number one picks. Most of the top 10 was pretty straightforward. We'll probably just list them, but yeah, for Willem, very exciting because again, West Coast need a hard-bodied midfielder, and he is tall and is good at collecting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll match up well with Harley Reid, who is more of a burst player. So, yeah, that could be a really good tandem if they get them. Obviously, Harley signing that longer term contract. If Willem can see him out, might be something exciting in the Eagles midfield that we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very exciting time for the Eagles fans, especially as they get another number one draft pick. But it's going to be very interesting to see how he slots into their midfield and like ties in well with, with Harley. Hopefully, Elliot Yeo will be able to come back as well and add some veteran talent into that system. But I think it's going to lift their performances a little bit from what we've seen over the past 2 years. Right.
Yeah, as I said, yeah, because as I said, their clearances were absolutely gutted here. So even if he has an average, rookie year in terms of that number, for his talent, it's still probably going to elevate the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Next on the list, taken pick 2 due to an Academy bid by the Gold Coast Suns. Brody Yulin's brother Zeke joins them, 179 midfielder from the Academy system, and is a very, very impressive small midfielder, apparently.
Yeah, as I said, we sort of talked about him when we're doing the pre-draft analysis. So, yeah, as I said, just speedier player, might help on the outside transition. And, yeah, as I said, always helps when his brother went from a sort of fringy player to a very solid best 22 player.
Next on the list is a key defender signed under the father-son rule for Carlton, and that is Harry Dean.
Exactly. Again, going to where they know they need a key defender for when eventually Wiedering pulls the pin. So as I said, get him around now. He will develop by the time he retires, and hopefully they'll have a successor.
Yeah, that makes sense that it's kind of the plan. Their ruck stocks are definitely running out now that they've lost Tom de Koning.
No, he's a key defender, not a
Oh yeah, sorry, key defender. Yeah, we're talking about Wiedering. Sorry, I was
Sorry,
also
yeah,
kind of
right
leaning
now.
into the fact he was tall, but this didn't click in my head for some reason.
Yeah, it does.
With pick 4, Essendon signed an actual ruck, Cooper Duff Tytler, who was actually kind of touted as being one of the best tall players in this draft pack.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, technically pick 2, but yeah, because no one else could bid on him. Essentially, Eagles were always going to take him. And yeah, as I said, they have some of the worst ruck stats in the league, and they've drafted a ruckman. It just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of promise, bit of hype. Eventually, there's they'll elect one of what's his name? I don't even know who rucks around anymore. It's the ex-Giant and BJ Williams, the trying ruckman. What's his name? It's not not Bruce.
I'm blanking on a name right now as well. Don't worry.
Jeez. I do apologize. I'm not meant to be that harsh on you. Just Anyway,
It's
so
pretty late.
Eagles.
We're both pretty tired. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
But yes, no.
Anyway, let's move
the Eagles
on.
have definitely needed a brand new ruck to kind of bring into their system. Hopefully, he will develop very quickly in terms of what they need in that midfield, and it'll free up BJ and the other ruck that we are blanking on. We apologize. To like maybe have some other options around the ground. Like we know BJ can kick goals. May as well stick him up at the forward line.
Ish.
Ish. Yeah,
Ish.
I know, but
yeah.
gotta give him something.
Yeah.
All
As
right.
I said, they'll get rid of one in the next 3 years, I would reckon.
Yeah, probably.
Would hope.
All right, back on the Academy signings, the Gold Coast swiped first, picking up Dylan Patterson, a key defender. Oh, no, key defender, just a defender, sorry. Out of their Academy team.
Yeah, normally fast defenders, easily moldable into a midfielder, but halfback's a pretty promising position. It's where a lot of teams, especially the Suns, are shaping their play. And as I said, Patterson will be depth for a little bit, and then eventually when the either I was going to say I don't know, who's the other one they have there? Anyway, I'm blanking, but anyway, he'll either work into the side as a midfielder or reshape his position, or as I said, there might be a spot that opens up. They've got some older people. There's the one that always keeps doing his ACL, Butterick.
Yes.
Maybe that'll take his spot eventually. Exciting prospect, and solid academy player taken. We'll have a bit of a talk about that after we get through these 20.
Oh yeah, it's the system is very interesting right now. The next Academy player that was signed is a midfielder called Daniel Enable from the Brisbane Lions Academy team and signed to Brisbane.
Yeah, Brisbane, they've lost a bit of depth. Arguably they've lost a few runners, and who do they get? One of the best runners in the draft, apparently. So, yeah, as I said, the rich get richer. Average great in the VFL, and as I said, with a plethora of talented veterans to help him guide. As I said, not only, that's the other thing, like with top 10 draft picks, and we'll talk about this later. It's like, sometimes a top 10 draft pick going to a crap club, like you just shrug your shoulders because they probably won't develop him. But when you get serious talent and like the structures to make that talent go even more, as I said, that it's a scary prospect. You don't want to give him too much. You don't want to say, oh, he's guaranteed to be a gun or anything. But I'd be watching out for that name in years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. He seems like he's one of those players that is going to be able to just take the game on pretty much right off the bat and be one of those players with a lot of burst of speed to break packs and get a bunch of clearances at the same time.
Yep.
All right, next is Richmond's 2 picks. It's been now finally conformed back to what the draft structure was meant to be, with Richmond signing midfielders Sam Cumming and Sam Grill.
Yep, the man without a vowel in his last name. It was a bit of a shock take. Well, not shock take, but I think they had their eyes on Grill, which is just, I think a lot of the pundits thought that Roby was going to be taken before him. Richmond often going for a bit more height in these draft picks, but they've taken 2 mid-sized players who are midfielders. And, as I said, I don't think you can argue too much because, as I said, at the end of the day, Richmond are I think they're sort of going towards speed. And I think we talked a bit beforehand, just like, oh, maybe they want to balance it out. But, as I said, the other thing is you can lean into it and profile your team to be heading towards that. Now, whether the league's going to be shaping towards that, when, as I said, this team comes together, which, I mean, between you and me, I don't think is going to be next year. Even if you're optimistic, I think they're going to improve. But yeah, as I said, so it's going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, a bit of flair might be a way that they create goals while they're sort of transitioning in the forward line. So hopefully, one of these players, if they don't slot into the midfield, might also be a half-forward link-up option.
Yes. To be fair, we did sign literally a quarter of our list last season, so we weren't really going into this year's draft looking for much. So I'm very happy with both of these signings. Again, we've seen Sam Grill play for us under our VFL team, so he's had a little bit of experience already in our system. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how he performs with Uz, who actually just got an extension on his contract, by the way. Big fan of that.
Oh yeah, 2 years, wasn't it?
Yep, end of 2028 he's officially signed to at the moment, which I'm very happy with.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see how these boys develop in our AFL system. We'll jump over now to the Bombers with their back-to-back picks, and they sign midfielder Sullivan Roby and defender Jacob Farrow.
Yes, the team desperately lacking height signs two tall peoples. Historically, Essendon don't draft tall very well. I just, thinking back of players like Aaron Francis, Nick Cox in recent times. Arguably, they drafted Jayden and then proceeded to not use him as effectively as probably what Essendon fans would have liked to, if you want to count that as well. But that being said, Essendon had to draft tall, and they, as I said, were very lucky to get Roby. I think Roby suits their system very well, so maybe that just works out for both teams. If Richmond just are fine with Samuel Grulge, which, as I said, sounds like it. And yeah, as I said, Jacob Farrow adds to their defensive stock because, again, we saw last year they were pretty thin at the defensive stock. Hopefully, he doesn't have to play this season, but you never know.
Yeah, fingers crossed that a lot of Essendon's injuries that came in the 2025 season will actually be on the park in 2026. We know, unfortunately, that Nick Martin won't be, at least for the start. But hopefully, the rest of the list will be a lot healthier than what it currently is, and these boys don't have to play off the bat unless they're actually ready for it.
Yeah. Apparently, Roby's from the Rowville Hawks, which is... I only know bad things about Rowville.
Yeah, Rowville does have a reputation. I will tell you that.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Next on the list,
we won't judge.
Next on the list is Melbourne's back-to-back picks, and they sign defender Xavier Taylor and another member of a legendary football family, Latrell Pickett, as a forward.
Yeah. So again, picks that make sense. And I think I mentioned it earlier in this, this draft was where a lot of key players sort of came up the pecking order. A lot of midfielders dominated last one, where now we've got a lot of depth in that. Tolls and Melbourne, who are looking for a defender, probably got, the third best in the draft? So, third best in, a third pick. Which, is still probably looking to be very solid, still in the first round. And, he takes marks and gets a few disposals. So, obviously, if he can be sort of sort of Stephen May, play on the defender but like to peel off, intercept, as I said, he'll probably work under that. But as I said, Melbourne will just shape him however he needs. And obviously, Latrell Pickett, honestly, really good because if he is as good as his, did you say brother or cousin?
I did not say anything at all in terms of relation. I know they're related, but I don't know how.
Yeah, I think it's cousin, but anyway. So honestly, the way Mum's going, Cozzy Pickett might in the midfield permanently might be a move. So having a Pickett in the forward line still will keep their options open, especially as their small forward. I mean, just any of their forward line stocks is pretty mediocre.
Yes.
If we're going to be honest. So yeah, good pick there.
All right, jumping over back to the Bombers with pick 13, they sign midfielder Dyson Sharp.
Yeah. Again, another midfielder known for his body. They do need a mid. I mean, that Essendon just need a lot of positions. But
Essendon need a lot of things.
Harshish call. Yeah, as a was it Setterfield and Menzies they dropped.
I think so, yes.
So looking to reblood there. Dyson Sharp fills that role. Bit mid-sized, but yeah, as I said, obviously. I mean, all these players in the top 20 have a bit of talent, but, as I said, if he can, provide some defensive balance as well, which Setterfield was sort of meant to be when they picked him up, he might eventually balance out a Essendon midfield that may or may not be. I mean, it's hard to say with Merritt, as I said, they may still be developing then, but at least it will be a profiled midfield.
Yeah, I agree. Over to Sydney now, where they use an Academy selection on a young defender called Harry Kyle.
Yeah, again, much needed for Sydney because, as we can tell by both Lloyd and Rampy being in the rookie list, Sydney are looking to get some youngsters in their back line. Looks to play a bit more in half back. Says he's got a bit of midfield capabilities, which might be good. Just to vary things up in the Swans midfield. I don't think their midfield stats were actually that great last year. I'd have to look at it again. But yeah, obviously they are getting goals from the midfield. So just getting solid ball use player might even it out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And is apparently really, really good at jumping. 98 vert jump running and on his right side, 95 centimeters, which is, I can probably jump 10 centimeters if I'm lucky.
Well, at least we know he's the type of player that's going to have a big impact at contests.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll do the next Heaney versus Petrarca Colday ad. All we just need is another Petrarca.
Possibly. All right, jumping over to their crosstown rivals in the in the GWS Giants, and they sign defender Oscar Taylor.
Yeah, apparently Gordon this wasn't even called up to the combine until a couple of weeks before it, and then really, really blitzed the speed. Obviously, with the way that GWS plays, and they're getting a bit older in that halfback region. It might be a bit of a project. Maybe I don't know if this is seen as a risk or not, but just reading the profile. A bit of speed injection for when Whitfield eventually decides to retire. In 3 or 4 years, and hopefully they might blood him a few games. And as I mentioned, they're pretty young in that depth, so it's just building off. So he'll be the next sort of depth player when they decide who of like Lekalia, Laverde, and here's that other one. One of the other ones I mentioned. Angwin or whatever it is.
Angwin, Fonte, couple of others.
That's the one I was thinking of.
There we go. Good signing. With pick 16, North Melbourne swoop in and take forward Lockie Doverston.
Yeah, sort of just gifted a draft pick, really. Carlton ended up needing to trade to. They didn't want their crappy first round pick. They wanted solid third rounders to do their bid. So North enter back into the first round. On the flip side, though, as I said, probably most of the Toll talent, that was sort of really solidified as like a top round pick have gone. So they settle with a best available forward, which, is interesting. They've got a few players that they've trialed over the years, but I think people are forgetting is a lot of the players that they have either delisted or Jacob Castante, which is, had a very mixed first year. Probably a bit too hated considering he was just a random lifeline pickup. So, Lockie Doverston, just add a bit of depth. North pretty lucky to get someone like him, so maybe he'll get a bit of talent there. But yeah, as I said, it's sort of a bit of a I don't know pick. I doubt he'll have much impact first year, but
it's an interesting selection. However, with the Suns getting 2 back-to-back picks using their Academy selections, they have signed 2 midfielders in Jai Murray and Bo Adenstall.
Yeah, and as I said, more mid-depth. It seems like the Suns are really stacking it on, which is going to be interesting, especially in a couple of years' time. But for now, as I said, they can work a couple of these players to be outside players. It might be good, or maybe, as I said, forward half link ups. I'm not exactly sure. Just briefly reading through these profiles here, that might be.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, both seem to be running jump. It says here that Addisonol can be used as a forward option, which I think for the Suns would probably be what they would do, and Jai Murray, medium midfielder defender. So again, I think it just seems like Gold Coast are hedging their bets with hedging their bets with best available midfielders really this draft, and they've got a lot of picks to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That just adds a ton of depth to their midfield really, because it's going to be very hard to take apart their midfield as it currently is. So it just gives them a little bit more options on like some of the positions that are a little bit more flexible, I think. All right, over to the Eagles once again, and with pick 19, they signed defender Josh Lindsay.
Yeah, and seems like he is regarded as a more defensive defender, if that makes sense. But with a really good left boot. Obviously, the Eagles, one of their other problems with turnover from defense, which, as I said, they've gotten a few players who have been a bit more solid defensively. So if they can get a good ball user link up, and obviously with them putting more capital into their midfield, that might be where their team starts to develop. Start from the back half, work it up, and Josh Lindsay just seems a part of that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense as a solid pick. Over to Hawthorn now with their first pick in the draft, and at pick 20 they signed forward Cameron Nahn.
So Cameron Nahn is a very mobile forward apparently. He has kicked a big bag against WA, unfortunately, 7 goals. And obviously, with Hawthorn, they've got a few tall options, but probably thin compared to most teams. So this pick makes sense. Mobile tall forward, still in high areas of the draft. Put a bit of investment into it. Hope he develops well.
Yeah, I think this is a very good selection from Hawthorn. Again, they've only got like a handful of players that are tall enough to kind of fit what they need. Obviously, being big ones being Chol, Kalshadir, Mitch Lewis, I think is somewhat tall. So they've kind of got a couple of good options already, but definitely need some more depth in terms of being able to cover that spot. Because when Kalshadir went out, they did kind of struggle for a little bit in terms of kind of filling that spot essentially. So picking up another semi-tall forward
was really good, but Mabio was really good, but I don't think you can rely on him having as good a year again. So
yeah, agreed.
I also want to say, he didn't. I thought Mitch Lewis got delisted, but he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Thinking of Seamus Mitchell.
Yes. All right, jumping over with pick 21, and with a swipe out of the Sydney Academy team, the Western Bulldogs pick up Lachlan Carmichael.
Yeah. I'll say, how long are we going down the list?
Probably just to 25, and then I'll rattle off the rest.
Oh, okay. So, rebounding defender, apparently. Intercept player. honestly, anywhere in the back half is worth developing for the Bulldogs. And in typical Bulldogs fashion, he is also a pill getter. So yeah, it just needs to fit the profile. But yeah, as I said, I think they'll be pretty keen to get some high level talent in their back line.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
yeah,
They're
is
considering
good.
their backline has been their weakest part of their system. It'll be definitely really good to get some more depth and some more talent down there to fill those positions properly. Um, Speaking of
The other foot.
positions, yeah. Speaking of positions,
Yeah.
we've got two back-to-back key forwards going at picks 22 and 23, with Adelaide sweeping first and signing Mitchell Marsh, not to be compared to cricketer Mitchell Marsh.
Hmm. Yeah. So like Mitchell Marsh, he seems to be all offense. Really solid time trial, good, you know, goal kicking things, and obviously he's going to be a Tex replacement if they want to play free prong forward.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so they have either very old or fairly young key forwards, so this makes sense. Well, sorry, I should say young. What is it? It's 25 and 24, isn't it? Fogarty, Philthorpe.
I think
I
so,
can't
yeah.
remember. Anyway, so yeah, as I said, just adds a bit of depth into the mix. They'll develop. He'll probably come in when Philthorpe and Fogarty are in the prime, and obviously, as I said, Texas retired, so yeah, makes sense to draft. They like him, is available. Sandful kid, yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense. Next on the list, as I said, another key forward signed by Hawthorn, Aiden Schubert.
Schubert, not to be
Schubert.
confused with the composer. His first name probably isn't Aiden. I don't know what it is.
I
Yeah,
got
as
no
I
idea
said,
for you.
basically, basically the same thing of what we said as Cameron Nahn. Yeah, as I said, doesn't really see much difference. Just competes hard, takes marks, maybe or contested. Who knows? As I said, it's not like I've actually scouted these kids, so yeah. But as I said, in terms of system, yeah, just I won't say hedging bets, just taking the best height available. And yeah, as I said, he is a bit got 10 centimeters on Nan. So Nan, a bit more athletic, Schubert a bit more tall.
Yep, pretty much. It solves two of their forward line structure issues, especially when Jack Gunston is probably only down there for one more year before he calls it quits.
Yeah.
So it's good to ensure that they're picking up players that will fill in pretty much both the
Yeah.
tall and the small options in that forward line structure. Jumping down now to pick 24, and Geelong swoop in, signing a midfielder in Harley Barker.
Yeah. So again, with Geelong, the lower down in the draft, it is the more dangerous it feels. But yeah, as I said, seems like he's a bit more of a quick player. Obviously, Geelong, not quite the oldest team in the competition, slowly getting towards league average. But yeah, as I said, probably could use a bit more pace in the inner workings of their midfielder,
Mm-hmm.
in their midfield, but also maybe, could play a bit outside depending. But yeah, as I said, uh, yeah, solid height, got a bit of speed, good ball use, and had an ACL as well. So again, might be a bit more of a project. Seems he'll miss most of next year, but Geelong have the luxury of being able to develop um, their future talent, and they have the luxury of of historically making players like these seem like absolute gems. So
Yep,
who knows?
this is true. This is very, very true. And then just to round us out with pick 25, Fremantle swoop in on another academy player. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's from a Western kind of system. I think he's from out in Victoria from an academy system out here. But they have signed midfielder Adam Swede.
Yeah, I think this must have been a case of them just naturally bidding and no one matching. So yeah, absolutely a speedy, exciting player, ball on ground player, which surprisingly Freo aren't really an on ground team. On ground, bowl they don't pick up the ball that often, which is weird. But anyway,
It's a weird way of putting
but
it, but yeah.
obviously, yeah, obviously, if you've been reading or seeing his draft story, he was absolutely cruel last year with a knee injury. Thought he was probably not going to get drafted, and ends up, as I said, having a really good year. And yeah, uh, sorry,
No, you're good.
yeah, Fremantle drafted him probably higher than he was thinking of going, and he was really chuffed by it. Apparently, the Bombers, this was from their academy, so they passed up on it. Obviously, Bombers had more higher end picks, so but they weren't going to. Oh, they probably didn't actually have the capital to even secure him. So yeah, allowed Freo to get him.
Well, there we go. All right, now just to rattle off the rest of the list, is because there's still quite a bit to go, and I'd like to at least, you know, I guess share everyone with the world, even though the list is already out there in the public. So with pick 26, North Melbourne signed key defender Blake Threadgold. Pick 27, the Bulldogs signed ruckman Lewis Emmett. Pick 28, Gold Coast signed defender Avery Thomas. Pick 29, West Coast signed forward Sam Allen, not to be confused with Oscar Allen or any of the other Allens in the league. Pick 30, Melbourne signed forward Thomas Matthews. At pick 31, Richmond signed forward Zane Puker. At pick 32, stealing a player out of the Brisbane Academy team, Collingwood signed midfielder Tian Prindable, I think it's how it's pronounced. Pick 33, Geelong signed midfielder Hunter Holmes. I believe he might be related to Max.
I think so.
I think that was detailed a couple weeks ago. With pick 34, Hawthorn have signed midfielder Jack Dalton. Pick 35, the Sydney Swans have signed midfielder Jevon Filippo, the brother of the Filippo at St Kilda. So they are now separated. At pick 36, the Bombers have signed defender Max Kondodianis. That's a very Greek name. Good for him. At pick 37, Collingwood have signed midfielder Samuel Swadling. At pick 38, Brisbane have signed an academy player out of WA called Kobe Evans. At pick 39, West Coast have signed a academy forward called Tyler Williams. At pick 40, Freo has signed forward Tobin Murray, who played in the Geelong VFL system. At pick 41, St Kilda have signed a midfielder and a father-son called Charlie Banfield. At pick 42...
so this is a weird one.
Oh, yes, go on.
Banfield was actually the son of West Coast Banfield. They just didn't pick him up.
Interesting. So he's a father-son, but not in part of the St Kilda system.
No, the Eagles were the one that had rights on him, but they just didn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Drew Banfield was like a mid-2000s player.
Okay, fair enough. With pick 42, the Sydney Swans have signed midfielder Billy Cootie. At pick 43, Brisbane has signed key forward Cody Curtin. At pick 44, Brisbane have also signed midfielder Ty Hayes. Pick 45, Carlton signed forward Taylor Byrne. At pick 46, under another academy selection, the Gold Coast Suns have signed Kobe Coulson. At pick 47, with another academy signing, Carlton have signed Jack Ison. At pick 48, North Melbourne have signed midfielder Hugo Mukunda. Pick 49, the Sydney Swans have signed from their academy team key forward named Max King, not to be confused with the other key forward Max King. At pick 50, the Adelaide Crows have signed key forward Archie Ludwig. Pick 51, the Giants have signed defender Finnegan Davis. At pick 52, with a academy pick out of the Greater Western Victorian Rebels, St Kilda have signed Kai Fincher. At pick 53, the Bombers have signed forward Hussein El Akhtar. I don't really want to fuck this up. Akhtar, I think. I apologize profusely, but it is from another academy selection out of the Calder Canyons. At pick 54, Richmond have signed midfielder Noah Roberts-Thompson. At pick 55, Collingwood has signed out of their academy selection in the Oakley Chargers ruckman Zach McCarthy. At pick 56, Hawthorn have signed midfielder Matthew Laverde. pick 57, Collingwood have signed midfielder Angus Anderson. At pick 58, St Kilda have signed defender Ryan Burns, who have come out of their VFL system. At pick,
Re-signed.
sorry. Ryan Burns was a re-signing. My apologies. Same with the next pick at pick 59. The Giants have re-signed forward Jake Stringer. I know, what a big shock! Oh my god. And then at pick 60, under father son, the Western Bulldogs have signed key defender and brother to Sam Darcy, son to Luke Darcy, Will Darcy.
Yeah. Just a couple of minor points. Cody Curtin, which was Brisbane Lions, he is the, I think they said cousin
Of Dan Curtin?
of Dan Curtin.
Yes.
Cousin or brother? Younger brother of Dan Curtin. And I can't believe you overlooked this. Noah Roberts-Thompson. Surely that sounded a bit familiar with you. Is the cousin of Swans dual premiership player Lewis Roberts-Thompson.
Interesting.
One of the cult heroes back in the day.
There you go.
So yeah, probably wouldn't have played enough to be a father-son. Because I think Lewis Roberts, he would have been under 150 games, I would have thought. Very injury-riddled career. Just won two premierships medals and had an absolute blinder in one of them.
Oh, there you go. It's sometimes the AFL system is a small world after all.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of repeats.
Yes, this is true. This is very true.
It's like Madden when it gets too low. It gets too many years in, all the names seem familiar.
But yeah, so those are the 60 draft picks. Obviously, most of the draft picks were used as points in terms of the Academy selections, which is why a lot of teams had a lot of the lower tier down picks. Again, the system isn't pretty. It needs to be completely dismantled and redone. Because I'm honestly not a fan of how this works. So,
no, I will say though, I don't know why the Gold Coast are getting as much. I know why, because obviously that good a season getting like picks 2 and 5, but at the same time, it's like Brisbane. It's just like Brisbane from at least the last 5 years have had really big fingers in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
They've just been a lot more spread out. And I would say that that's a lot more dangerous.
The big notable ones have been the 2 Ashcrofts. And granted, they were more under father-son, but they were also high-tier draft talent.
Really. It's still stuff you plan for, and to have picks that you can just safely plan for, and all you need to do is make up the picks is already an advantage. And the fact that you can just use any picks. They are saying that next year it's going to be tied to the same round. So next year, at least Brisbane will have to scrounge a first-round pick or use their first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't just downgrade their first picks into multiple thirds, which all have so much value that just that is so overvalued, the third-round pick. Because as I said, as much as we go it's still a first round. Players in the first round don't always develop well and all that, but they still tend to fill in spots, and they fill in spots straight away. So for Brisbane to be able to have some flexibility in losses of depth straight away is what the real killer is, in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
the
I
Gold
agree.
Coast, as I said, they're not quite at that stage where I think that this is going to be groundbreaking for them. It still should make them a strong team in the future, but Brisbane to me is the more ridiculous team that's been so benefited from it. Don't blame them. Abuse it all you want. If the system's there, why wouldn't you? But
Agreed.
as I said, as we're going to be talking about, Brisbane in a couple of formats have been absolutely dominating in terms of making grand finals and winning them.
Agreed. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the draft system from now on. But that's enough about the men's. We've talked a lot about the men's already. So let's jump over to the women's with the AFLW All Australian happening literally a couple of hours ago as we're recording this. So we've got a bunch of fresh news about the entire All Australian team, as well as Rookie of the Year and MVP overall.
Yeah, shall we just list off the team, I reckon?
Yeah, go
Just
go
start
for
off
it.
with that.
Go straight away.
So I unfortunately made this image small, so bear with me. In the fullback, we've got Meave Chaplin and Jennifer Dunn. They play for Melbourne and Brisbane respectively. Then we've got Serene Watson on the halfback for St Kilda, Harriet Cordner for Carlton, and Cambridge McCormick for GWS. In the centre lines, we've got Danya Finn playing on the wing, Tyler Hanks in that middle position, center, if you will. It's basically a midfielder. And Ella Roberts as a wing player. In the ruck spot, we have Mim Strong for Fremantle. And to the surprise of nobody, All-Australian captain Jasmine Garner, C with her sister in arms, Ash Riddell, named right next to her in the Kangaroos. In the half-forward line, we've got Kate Hoare, arguably a half forward, could as well just be in the midfielder, playing for vice captain as well, well deserved. Talia Randall for Kangaroos and Anne Madonahue. No, Anya Dono? I've never actually heard her name pronounced. For Hawthorn. Full forward, we've got Courtney Hodder for Brisbane and Indy Tahau for Port Adelaide, the leading goal kicker. Confirmed her award, even though can't really not confirm it. Won that ages ago. On the interchange, we've got Georgie Prasparkas for Geelong, Gabriella Newton for Fremantle, Matilda Scholes for Port, playing that second ruck role, Blathan Blige Blathan Bogue, I should say, for Kangaroos, and Neve McLaughlin for the Gold Coast Suns. So well done to all them. I think that they said that there were 15 first-timers in Dunn, Hodder, Cordner, Finn, Newton, McLaughlin, McCormack, Done, Chaplin, Hanks, Spogue, Randall, which is a surprise to me, Scholes. I thought she'd gone in
Scholes is
last
only
year.
20.
Tahoe Watson.
So I think Tahal kind of took her
I
position
know.
last season.
She's a gun. 21, I think. Arguably she could have been in, but Mim Strong has a stronghold on the position normally. So, congratulations to all those. In terms of breaking down by list, it is to no one's surprise that North Melbourne have 4 players represented. Melbourne with 3, Brisbane with 2, Carlton with 2, Fremantle with 2, Port Adelaide with 2, Geelong with 1, Gold Coast with 1, GWS with 1, Hawthorn with 1, St Kilda with 1, and West Coast with 1, which, if I can list off in my head, mean that Adelaide surprisingly don't have any, Western Bulldogs don't have any, Collingwood don't have any.
Richmond don't have any.
That's it. Oh, Richmond don't have any.
And
no surprise there, though.
There's 2 more. I think Essendon don't have one. And the Giants?
No, GWS have one.
Oh, yeah.
Must be Essendon.
Well, 18. There's 12 teams selected. So there's 6 teams that missed out. I don't know what the other one is.
Sydney.
Ah, yes, it is Sydney. You're right. There we go. But yeah, this is the AFLW All Australian, and I think it's very well rounded. I can't really complain too much, obviously, with the 4 North players in there, especially when you have Garner and Riddell just tearing it up in that midfield. It's like literally, I think it's actually one of the probably more well-rounded All Australian teams since the AFLW All Australian started.
Yeah, I will say, absolutely amazing. Their entire backline did not have a single same player from the year before it, so that was very interesting. I don't actually recognize many of the backup players, so I know their names, but I haven't actually seen too many of them this year. As unfortunately, I haven't watched as much AFLW as I'd like to. So, but yeah, as I said, a lot of the familiar names from the center field onwards. But it's good to see some of the, as I said, the mainstays make way for the next generation of talent, which is very good.
Yes, and now we can also highlight the rising star for the AFLW being probably the player with the best name in the AFLW as well, Zippy Fish.
Yeah, no surprises there. Honestly, with Sydney's rise, Zippy Fish obviously being, probably, yeah, as I said, 21 disposals, 3.3 tackles, 5.9 intercepts, and 4 goals for the season. Well, the rest were average. The 4 goals was just overall. So, yeah, made a bit of an impact. Yeah, part of the Sydney rise, and yeah, I don't think this was like one of the most unsurprising ones. Yeah, that you could probably get. The two ones down though, like if it wasn't for Zippy Fish being so amazing, would have been really solid contenders. I do think I would have a Poppy Scholes a bit over Lucia Painter. Poppy Scholes has been very good in defence in Carlton, and I think people were sleeping on Carlton, thinking that maybe get knocked out. I think they've sort of proved that they were deserving to be in the final series, and Poppy Scholes is a part of that. And Lucia Painter, to get a key forward that has just an instant impact is very fantastic. They both had 23 votes. And to round it off, Havana Harris for Gold Coast got 19, and Sophie McKay got Carlton, for Carlton, played 15 votes, got 15
Got
votes.
15 votes.
Good news for Carlton as well.
Yeah, but the fact that Zippy Fish got the maximum amount of rising star votes that you could possibly get in in this debut season is incredible. It's not very often that to be able to win the rising star you get the maximum amount of votes. That's
It's
insane.
pretty unanimous. Obviously, I guess the other comparison, and it is a bit disappointing, is Contra taken pick number 1 instead of Zippy Fish, who was 3rd, I believe.
Fifth.
Oh, 5th, sorry. As I said, a lot of people were thinking that she was going to be taken a bit earlier than she did. So I'm not saying this was a previous self years, but I think the pundits were right that Zippy was definitely the big talent, and Sydney have been rewarded. Maybe not rewarded. I guess sort of fell into their lap, and they were very appreciative of it.
Yeah, exactly. Next on the list is the best and fairest winner herself, and to no one's surprise, it is Ash Riddell.
Yeah, absolutely stunning season. We had a bit of controversy in the vote. Obviously, with comparison to Nisai Wanganeen-Malera, when Ash Riddell got her record-breaking 45 disposals, she polled 0 votes, which was very funny. But because she just dominated, no one really, it didn't really matter. Riddell, wait, is that Riddell second?
For last
No,
year's?
sorry, Prescribers was second. I don't know what that was trying to say. Sorry, I was just briefly reading the article because I didn't know who got. I've only seen the votes now. So Tyler Hanks is 3rd in 18 and Ella Roberts in 17, which is very good for a team that just missed out on finals. But yeah, as I said, absolutely deserved winner. Ash Riddell, what a player. It broke the possessions record twice in a season. So many tackles. Where's the stats? Surely I have somewhere. Averaging 35.3 disposals per match. That is literally about 38 or 39 disposals in the men's. That's just insane. So yeah. Oh, she didn't poll a vote in either her record-breaking 44 or 45 touch games.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
How do you break the AFLW disposal record and not poll a single vote?
Exactly. Anyway, so I do want to finish off with a tiny, and as I said, I don't always like to compare women's and men's, but I do think and this might be a controversial statement, I reckon probably when you like convert the ratio between like body mass index and all that, probably got a square ahead than Ollie Wines. I know I'm a Port supporter. I love squarehead Ollie. But I just reckon Riddell's got him beat on that. It's just, you know, it's such a iconic look. And you know what I mean? It's so, you know, and that's what I love about AFL football is like, she's tiny and she's such a beast. She just goes in there, gets the pill, and, you know, a player at what? I think she's like 100 and, I think she's only 158 centimeters. Not a very tall player, even by AFLW standards. And she can be so dominant, you know? So, yeah, as I said, absolutely props to her. Absolutely deserved winner. And, yeah, as I said, I don't think North fans will be, as I said, North fans will be very happy for the results of tonight, but as I said, they will be gunning to add one more bit of silverware to the cabinet before the year's end.
Yes, 100%. Just to briefly note it down as well, goal of the year was won by Montana Ham from the Sydney Swans, and mark of the year was won by Richmond's Sarah Hosking. So that's...
Yeah, as I said, Sarah Hosking was that very courageous running back mark. Probably benefits from a player clobbering her afterwards. You know, I mean, it was a brave mark, and then it was like, oh, this is why it was brave.
Yeah.
Because she was just going towards a fist.
Flight of the ball.
So, yeah, exactly. So still deserves it. It's a pretty good mark. And finally, we've got a running mark that actually sort of deserves to win goal of the year because, yeah, as I said, a massive run off halfback for a 40-meter goal to, what was the name?
Montana Ham.
Montana Ham. Absolutely excellent run. Good team goal. I think she'll, well, I mean, I know you don't win a car anymore, but if she was, she would be splitting it. You know, well, maybe not splitting it. Maybe she'll carpool her teammates that were in the chain. But anyway, and yeah, the last real award we should talk about is Kate Derby winning the Jim Steins
yes,
Community Award.
Yes, always very important to whoever wins the Jim Steins Community Leadership Award. You know, the impact the players have off the field is just as important as they do on field, and it's always good to see someone with such very admirable values be represented under the award.
So her community initiatives, according to the article, include Cats Wishes, BioCats, Pride and Inclusion, and Healthy Heroes. So all either her programs or part of Geelong's women's programs that she obviously has a big part in.
That's very good to hear. That is very, very good to hear. All right, let's continue on with our AFLW journey for this episode, starting with brief reviews of the preliminary finals, starting off with North Melbourne and Melbourne with only a 10-point deficit.
Yeah, and there was a glimmer of hope. Melbourne did well all day. Maybe didn't quite convert when they had opportunities. I know they were only 5-6, but I'm talking more territory into inside 50s. But they were holding on strong in defense. It was a very scrappy game. But you know what I mean? They just didn't get bang for the buck going forward. And eventually, the downward break ended up when North Melbourne got the lead. Because I think Melbourne had a 10-point lead in the last quarter. 6-point lead. So as soon as Melbourne kicked ahead, they didn't really look like losing. But that being said, I think just because of how good North Melbourne is, I don't think it will be understated how good a performance this was for Melbourne, especially their defense. Like, Melbourne, honestly, it's hard to say that Melbourne wasn't the second best defense in the competition this year. And they did a really good job until the very end. But at the end of the day, North just outmuscled them. Their conversion was just enough, despite the toughness that Melbourne were able to apply. And, you know, as I said, as admirable as it is, on the flip side, North had their one challenge for the year. This is the closest it's ever been, and they still managed to get over the line. And this is just the sort of game that you sort of feel like if there was going to be a moment in time for North Melbourne to lose, it might have been this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as I said, North, just really ended up getting it through. I didn't actually watch this match fully. As I said, I was watching parts of it, and then I watched to go see Cats. But as I said, a lot of the players that played in All Australian had pretty solid performances. Jazz Garnick, 32, Ash Riddell, quiet, 24. And as I said, Maeve Chaplin had a lot of ball use in that back line. But yeah, as I said, it was a very solid effort. And Melbourne, by far, every game with Melbourne has been pretty much a banger in this final series. And although it's disappointing, Melbourne, probably for how good a team they've been in the last 5 years, probably should have had another chance for another premiership. But, and also their coaches stood down. Inaugural coach for the Melbourne Demons stood down. Not stood down by the club, but,
he made the decision to stand down.
The torch.
Yes.
Yeah. So, very respectable way to leave the club.
Yeah, and to Melbourne's credit, the fact that they've pretty much been the only team to really take it to North, considering that this was the first time they had faced off all season long. I don't think North were really surprised that Melbourne got the jump on them pretty early, and then they just managed to start clawing their way back, and then it became a fairly even game. Again, you were right. Melbourne didn't really take the opportunities that they had, especially in that third quarter where all they kicked was 4 behinds. They definitely could have
territory. It's just, as I said, they could never convert any of their rebound into solid attack. 40 inside 50s to 29, you're rarely going to win a match with those stats.
Yeah, it was definitely on paper. It's definitely not as hard back and forth as it might have, as the scores might have shown. North Melbourne definitely had a lot more control than the stats may suggest. But it's to North's credit, they are the best team in the competition for a reason. And in that fourth quarter, they were just able to blitz away.
Yeah, as I said, it's just Melbourne did what other teams haven't been able to do, and that's limit some of North Melbourne's strength. Their marking wasn't as good. Honestly, it's insane saying 6'10" was limited shots, but for North Melbourne standards, it was. So, as I said, it's so hard when you've got a team like North and you're trying to do the best things available. Obviously, playing that well defensively probably limited their offensive capabilities. It was the best chance of winning. But as I said, North just proved too good. But as I said, very respectable performance all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And then over on the other side of things, with the Brisbane Lions hosting Carlton and the Lions winning by 35 points, it solidifies how important the grand final matchup is going to be this weekend.
Yeah, so as I said, Brisbane absolutely... Oh, not absolutely, but they were pretty ruthless after the first quarter, which was pretty much a middling draw. A bit inaccurate in the second, but the little bit I watched is they started to open up the game a bit more. As I said, Carlton were hanging in there, but as I said, you could tell Brisbane was starting to get on a roll, and it was very apparent in that third quarter, where they sort of just won the game and put the Q in the rack. Ruby Saric kicking 4 goals, fantastic performance there. But yeah, as I said, it was pretty much just a more experienced team winning more contests more often than not. This was probably the same sort of inside 50 differential, 50 to 28, as the last game. It's just, as I said, Carlton weren't able to hold it together against a pretty dominant Brisbane scoring lineup. But, as I said, Carlton, very fun team, had some very solid performers. And again, although this game probably wasn't the way that they wanted to finish the season, they were probably by far the most fun team, except for maybe Sydney, to watch this year in terms of like an up and coming team.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's kind of no surprise that Brisbane had pretty much full control the entire game. Again, they've been one of these teams that has just been able to kind of wrestle the game out of their opponent's hands pretty quickly. Similar to North Melbourne in that way, but North Melbourne have also not really been super tested during this season at all, to be fair. So the Brisbane games have definitely been very very much a little bit more one-sided, I guess, in most affairs. Credit to Carlton, though, you were right. Like, they are probably one of the more fun teams I have watched this season. And the fact that despite this not being the ideal way to go out, it was still a very admirable contest from them. But Brisbane were just, the better team on the afternoon.
Yeah. Right. Shall we
Oh,
go on to the big
evening.
the big dance, the grand final?
Yes, it is time to preview the AFLW Grand Final, and with North Melbourne and Brisbane facing off at Icon Park, which is going to be really interesting because it's not exactly a venue designed for a Grand Final, and with the fact that the AFLW crowds have been steadily improving this season, I guarantee you this will probably end up being a sold-out Grand Final match.
Yeah, and it's always that toss up is like, do you want that full feel in Icon Park, or do you want like a big stadium, but it may not be, well, obviously the MCG isn't going to be a capacity, but you know what I mean? And as I said, I think people can argue all day about that sort of thing, but I do think that this match will be well supported because, as I said, again, you're witnessing history here. Like, either A, you're going to see a team go undefeated for the whole entire season, or B, you're going to see one of the biggest grand finals upsets of all time coming from a very respectable football club that is actually capable of doing it, even though we probably don't think that's going to happen. North Melbourne, honestly, surprisingly, have absolutely dominated Brisbane the last few times. Not just this year, which was 65-36. But in 2024, they swept them 39-9 and 78-34. So, really, on the back foot. Obviously, 39-9 was last year's grand final, by the way. This is, in fact, a pure replay, which, as I said, probably, I wouldn't say it's a direct concern for the AFLW. It's a probably direct problem for Queens, AFL, who are like concerned about Queensland represented in so many finals. AFL House probably doesn't like that. One more Victorian teams. But yeah, as I said, I think the biggest thing about Brisbane will be, is like, it's very weird. It's like Brisbane are so feast or famine with both sides of the ball. Like, they've piled on some good scores, they've restricted teams to good scores, but they've also conceded and, not scored at the same time. So,
Yeah.
they've not had that consistency by North, but their best on either ends have sort of matched North Melbourne and obviously knocked off Melbourne in the first week, who we've shown are not a team to scoff at. So yeah, as I said, should be a really, really solid match. Well, no, it should be. I mean, I can imagine North Melbourne absolutely sweeping, but you do hope that one of Brisbane Lions fires. If it's attack, I think we can have a really fun shootout. If it's defense, it might be a more grindy contest with North probably eking out. I do think Brisbane will have to score to be able to take it to them. But yeah, as I said, the ball's in North Melbourne's court.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very interesting night grand final. The forecast for the weather says it will be a top of 16 degrees and an 80% chance of rain on Saturday. So there's a fair chance this could be a wet weather grand final, which would be very interesting in terms of pure matchups. I still think North will probably just run away with it, but it would be very nice to see Brisbane take down their winning streak on the biggest game of the season.
Yeah, I will say in favor of Vic Bice, and this is going to be a rare concession for me. It does mean that the AFL Grand Finals have not been played in sweltering weather. Like, I think the AFLW will be relieved that they haven't had like a home game in Adelaide where it's 40 degrees or Perth when it's 40 degrees, like it has been in other years.
Yeah.
Maybe not 40. Like, I think last year they had to play in 38 degrees by memory. It was that Adelaide Freo game. It was terrible. Well, for them.
Mm.
Well, I mean, it was a bad game too, but yeah.
But yeah, like, there isn't really much more to really say in terms of like how this game could potentially go. Again, North Melbourne, realistically, they should just win it outright and continue their season-long dominance. But Brisbane showing that both of these teams actually had very interesting matchups against Melbourne, for an example. Shows and the fact that they both overcame that tenacity from the Demons shows that they both have what it takes to potentially upset the other, specifically Brisbane upsetting North. But it's gonna be a real slog.
Yeah. It's just a real damning recent history, unfortunately.
Yeah,
As
pretty
in,
much.
otherwise, I might be a bit more optimistic on Brisbane, but yeah, as I said, I think Melbourne was the best chance. But again, I tipped Brisbane to lose the grand final. Like what was it, 2 months ago?
Something like that.
Didn't really work out well for me, so I'm still tipping North. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I mean, if
yeah.
if there's gonna be any sort of time to be like surprised on anything, it's like Brisbane gets up here. That's I feel like that's what most of the AFLW world is probably.
For the third premiership.
This is true. This is very true.
It's not like they're going hungry, you know.
No. Brisbane have been done really, really well. Granted, as a more interesting thing to note, if Brisbane do win here, that does mean that the NRL men's, the AFL men's, and the AFLW women's all have the reigning premierships. I don't know about the NRLW, but that's just a really interesting thing to note.
The Broncos won both.
They did? Oh yeah, they did. Okay, so it's literally if Brisbane win here, the city of Brisbane have 4 premierships currently, like
football dominance.
Absolute football
I don't know what's
dominance.
happening in the A League.
I got no idea what's happening in the A League. Or what's gonna happen in like the in the Big Bash when that comes around in a couple of weeks.
Well, Big Bash isn't football.
No, but it's also like it's a national sport. Like they still have their own team up there and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, there isn't really much else to cover on that one, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I think I think that should wrap up this episode, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. So that will actually do us for episode 83. Thank you also so much for coming and hang out with us this week. Again, I am very tired and overworked and very busy, so I'm not really doing anything on my socials. HSP are done for the year, so we've got no other events, but we are still putting out a bunch of content, just kind of stuff that we've covered throughout the year, like dev interviews and stuff from PAX and things of that nature. That'll all be going up on our socials during our break. Are you up to much this week?
Not that much this week. I've got stuff to do, but like not interesting.
No, that's very fair. Yeah, I'm just working.
I'm planning something. We'll probably mention it a bit later, closer to the date. I'm doing something for that, so but we'll announce it when Blaze has more time and energy.
This is true. Give me like 2 weeks, and I'll be finally free. So we'll be good. We'll be good then.
Exactly. It won't happen until mid-December anyway.
No,
so.
we should be fine. I am going to the movies this weekend, which is going to be very, very nice. Oh, I did actually also go to the movies the weekend just gone. I saw Now You See Me, Now You Don't, which was a very, very fun, very, very good movie. That I was not. There's actually a really big twist in the movie, and I was not expecting it. And like all of the new characters and returning characters all play their roles really well. So I think it's a really
Jason Statham grey hair.
no.
That would freak me out.
But yeah, it's a very fun, very well-rounded movie, and it does actually set up for more potential movies in the series to be made, which is very exciting. The movie I am seeing this weekend though is Wake Up Dead Man, the third movie in the Ryan Johnson Knives Out trilogy. If you've seen Knives
Oh,
Out and
yeah,
Glass
yeah.
Onion, so I'm very excited for this one this weekend. They do limited theatrical runs for these movies before they're fully released onto Netflix. So I am very excited for this.
Yeah. Also, I
Otherwise,
just realized it's not Jason Statham.
correct, it's
I've
not
got
Jason
no.
Statham.
Which one is it? It's the other bald guy.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. But yes, that does.
Just go back and edit it. I know you've got like zero time on your hand. Just go, please, for me. Anyway,
No, you're good.
we'll live.
But yes, that does do it for us for this week. Thank you also so much for coming and hang out. Hopefully there'll be an episode next week covering the AFLW Grand Final and any other news that comes out. Otherwise, we may delay it for the week after, just depending on, how much kind of information we're able to cover.
And how much live plays is.
Yes, also that. So we shall see. But yes, thank you all so much, and hopefully we'll see you all very, very soon. So until then, hope you all have a great week and take care.